Okay, I think it's totally hilarious when all these people that are fixing their boat on YouTube, their fiberglass repair, and they're knock, 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 knock. It's solid, solid, doesn't move. Well, you know what? You can knock on like one layer of glass and it'll feel like that. So, here at Brian Sailing. I'm Brian. Join the adventures as I share what I learn restoring a hurricane-damaged catamaran with the dream to sail the world. So one of the things I like to do, or at least I did in this case, where there's going to be a hard point, I extended it out and lay another piece of glass on top. And what that does is it's going to help prevent any separation if there's any flex in any failure of the bond. And then here on the back, I just got all of the layers here on this, all the layers there, this, that crack, that, all this is good. I just need to come back, finish the deck here, and then this piece. But I think I'm going to save that for later because it doesn't leak inside or anything with that. I'll do that when I probably when I get ready to paint. Endless days of sanding. Must have been 40 hours of sanding on this. I got this ready to put the first layer of gel coat on. Now I'm just going to gel coat it so that it's protected. I'll come back when I do the non-skid. I'm going to paint the whole boat all at once, and so there'll be some final fairing and stuff to do, but this will get it pretty close. I think it's pretty good. All the way down to here. All right, let's get painting. Or gel coating, whatever it's called. If you've been watching some of the earlier episodes, you'll remember how bad this looked when I first started. And now I think it's starting to turn out pretty good. Remember, I had to cut out this entire section along here where there was all this damage. All that had been removed and replaced with new decking. Even the dash, all the way up in the front, if you recall, that was cracked all the way through. I had to cut it completely out. Then we built in some forms, laid new fiberglass, faired it, and now I think we're looking pretty close. Now it's not done. I'll have to do paint and stuff in the future, but it's a good start. I want to get the laminate on this, and so you can see I tapered the foam. And it's very important that you don't have sharp edges when it comes to the end, so you want the glass to go smoothly around it. So I've tapered the foam here. I've tapered the foam on this side. And what I want to do is I want to vacuum bag the laminate up onto this. And the reason I want to do that is when I was doing the test, when I just laminated and then flip it over, just the weight of the fabric would cause it to separate just a little bit, that it wasn't quite as strong. It was still bonded there, but it wasn't as strong. So I want to vacuum bag this. I'm a little afraid. I want to do this piece next because I need to get the laminate on this to put the side foam up. I'm a little hesitant to do this because this is a big piece. So I'm going to experiment on this little piece here that I feel a little more confident I'll be able to get this in. So I'm going to cut the vacuum bag for this and get everything prepared and laminate this sucker in right here. This is my vacuum bagging material. You can use whatever you want. I mean, you can use cheap plastic if you want, but this stuff is stretchy and it's very puncture resistant, so you have a lot higher success of by using this, and it's not that expensive. So thank you, Fiberglass Florida. I cut my vacuum bag out, and then I actually used the vacuum bag to mark the template for the size of glass that I wanted. And then I went and cut the glass accordingly, several layers in size. Then I basically take some thickened epoxy and smooth out that area because you don't want too many rough edges when you put the glass on. Then I started with some of the thinner layers and worked those up on there. Then I added the glass that was wet out on the vacuum bag and tried to make it stick. And this just turned into a crazy nightmare. That tacky mastic tape just wouldn't stick, and so I'm trying masking tape, I'm trying duct tape, I'm trying everything to get this thing up. And even then, I still didn't get that great of a seal, but I got enough of a seal. One of the things that I did because I couldn't get a good seal is I actually used my shop vac. And the shop vac just moves such a high volume of air that you can have quite a few leaks, and it's still going to put some pretty good pressure. One of the problems that I ran into, though, using that shop vac it didn't allow, because I didn't use anything like peel ply or any ventilation media to allow the air to transfer. When there's leaks, it doesn't get enough air, and so it would suck the air from the one side, but I couldn't get a good seal on the other side, back in that corner by where the hatch is. So what I did is I took my other vacuum pump and hooked that in, and with that I was able to pull a pretty good vacuum between the two sides, and I think that it turned out pretty good, giving me, as you'll see here shortly, a false hope.
My jury-rigged vacuum bag. Now it's the moment of truth.
Yeah, it worked good.
No air bubbles in here. That laminate is solid as can be. That turned out really nice. I mean, it's kind of messed up here, but we'll grind that off. Tie it back in because I got to do this section anyway.
Let's talk about failures. So I had a comment that said that I have no fear of failures. And while that is sort of true, it's not that I'm not going to fail. It's that I'm not afraid that I am going to fail. And so there's going to be failures along the way, but I always fix those, or I can fix them. I guess my confidence is my ability to adapt and change after something fails and move on. And so what we're looking at here is one of the big failures. So when I was trying to do that big piece of overhead glass, this cloth is super thick, and when it wets out, it's so heavy. And so I thought I had it all prepped. I had a vacuum bag on there. I tested the vacuum bag with it dry, and I was all ready to go. And I even had some extra help. Jeff from the neighbor boat, he came over to help me, and it didn't work. What happened was we got it all wetted out, put it up in the vacuum bag. I had the vacuum bag sealed on 3 sides, and then as we tried to seal the other side, the tape just wouldn't stick. Even though it was new tape, it wouldn't stick to the existing surface. I think kind of the rough fiberglass or the old fiberglass, it just doesn't like to stick to it. It wouldn't stick well enough to support the weight of this, and would try. We gave up, and we just put it on a piece of board, doubled it over, and so now we have a thick piece of fiberglass. I can cut this out if I need to make, I don't know, a backer plate or something. I tried again with a different concept of clamping the edge and still using a vacuum bag. Still had trouble getting the vacuum bag to seal, but we got it better, as you can see.
This top section here, and some of it turned out okay, especially along the edge. Along the edge here, it turned out fine. Now this was my second attempt, but some of this area in the middle, I'm gonna have to grind this off and redo a bunch of stuff here. But I can do that after I get the outside done, because I'll splice it and come back this way. But this is good because I needed this piece here tapered in before I could put the foam in, and I really want to get the boat sealed up before it gets hot, because I want to have some AC in here to get all the rest of the work done.
So what happened to me during that long break where I wasn't releasing videos? Well, sometimes it can be really hard to have motivation, and what comes across on YouTube doesn't really match reality.
I am so excited to get to the boat and do more grinding. Oh man, I guess it's just more grinding today.
The motivation for me is not a problem having motivation to work on the boat. I actually enjoy working on the boat. The problem is all the other things, all the other demands of life, which you guys don't see on here, with issues with the job, issues with the projects at the job, issues with the family, things like that have to take precedence, and they just drain your energy. And then with all that energy drained, I just don't have the energy to work on the boat like I'd like to. But that's part of the thing you have to build in when you plan a project like this, is planning the time for those things, because you can't just work nonstop on this thing. Especially if you have a family, and especially if you have a job, you can't do it. I tried to keep working on the boat, and what I gave up first was YouTube, actually, because it doesn't really make me that much money. It's just more of a enjoyment thing. And so I gave that up first, but I kept working on the boat. But I tended to film less because I just didn't have the energy. And so at least you get to skip ahead and see some of the
the parts that I've got farther down on the boat. Alright. Yesterday I started pulling this apart, trying to get down to that crack. Yeah, just laid this spot up. 18-ounce cloth, 3 layers. So that'll be the inside, and that's basically the inside under the water line. Then I'll put the core in all the way up, then the layers on the outside, and additional layers here on the bottom.
So what I'm doing here with the duct tape is I put it on the crack, and before I put the layers of glass on the inside, I put some filler in there, and the filler will seep out if I don't have anything to hold it in. Then what you'll see in the future is when I grind all this out, I'll grind that filler back as I feather it so that I can put all the layers of glass on. I'll also make this quite a bit wider when it comes time to put the glass on the outside of this. So I start the job with my planer that I'm using as a gel coat peeler, but I quickly switch over to the belt sander. The belt sander for me, it's just so much faster, and I'm super accurate with it. So it works great, and I just find myself grabbing that and not dealing with the wood planer. This video is not over yet, but before we get to the end, I wanted to remind you, please, before you forget, hit that like button. Also, please leave me comments. I love those. Also, thanks to all my patrons that are helping support this. You may want to consider subscribing. We got some really cool stuff coming up. I know it's a little early, but I am farther along on the boat than I am showing. But I ordered lithium batteries. I've got in contact. I'm going to be doing 24-volt air conditioning that can run off of the solar panels.
All right, this board here might look just like some scraps thrown together, but it is really a highly precision instrument. So what I needed to do is line this guy up here, and with this crack all the way down, these two sides are going to flex a little bit, and I want to get it lined up so it's not like a bulge or anything when it comes back. So what I did is I took that measurement that goes right along that edge. It's actually out too far. It needs to be pushed in a little bit. It kind of bowed out just a little bit. So what I did is I rigged up this board that goes all the way to the top there, and that rope is tied to a cleat and then goes back to a winch. This one here is tied to that block. And so now when I crank on that winch, it pushes this in. And I don't need very much pressure, maybe a couple 100 pounds is all. Just enough that, you know, it takes the weight off of it, that it's been sitting, you know, disconnected from this whole piece, to push it back into position and get that crack to line up. Slowly just tightening it up, and then I check it with my gauge. Small bit of excitement here. Let's get ready to seal this big hole up. I cut the foam, got it ready. I'm going to try to put a piece of laminate on here, and then put the foam over and see how it works. I already got some layers down here the other day. That's below the water line. The water line comes up to here, I think.
Thanks for watching. We got lots of fun stuff still coming up. CNC routing. I'm ordering my new rig hopefully soon, as well as solar panels, 24-volt air conditioning, lots of cool stuff. I'll see you next time.